Hey friends, Shay here. We're switching up the angle a little bit today. I hope you guys enjoy seeing a closer look at my TBR shelves and my TBR cart behind me, but that's neither here nor there. Today we are here to talk about the books that I read in the month of November. So in the month of November, I read a fair bit. It might not have been exactly what I was planning to read. I had some unexpected reads crop up that made my heart very happy. And so I'm not mad at any of it. So we're going to go ahead and dive in here. I'm probably actually going to front load this video with the manga that I read in the month of November because the majority of what I read was actually a reread of an entire series. So I think we'll start there and then dive into the books. As I've been talking about in other videos, I'm hoping to be more robust in what I share with you about what I'm reading, because where I'm not currently vlogging and talking about it in the moment, I feel like these should be a little more informative for you so you can decide whether you want to pick it up or not. So with that said, let's go ahead and start with the manga. So let's start with The Demon King is Way Too Overprotective Volume 1. So in this series, we essentially have a reincarnation trope where the Demon King has been chasing down this angel who he fell in love with years and years and years ago, and every reincarnation he tries to chase it down. Sena is the current reincarnation of the love of the Demon King's life, and he magically shows up. He starts to protect her in ways that he should and ways that he maybe shouldn't. He's very aggressively in love with her. Honestly, it made me giggle so entirely much. Like, I was cackling. I read this on a buddy read day with my friend locally here, and literally I sat and read the whole thing. I adored this. Like, this is top tier shenanigans, top tier heroes obsessed with the heroine, top tier just fun. I had so much fun with this series. It's only going to be a 3-volume series. It's going to be nice and short. We do have someone enter the picture towards the end that clearly is going to be part of the mess of the next volume, which I'm very much looking forward to. But I really enjoyed this. I guess I should be a little more succinct as to how they run into each other. So in The Demon King is Way Too Overprotective, we have Sena, who is a down-on-her-luck high school girl, short on money, living on her own. You know, parents aren't really in the picture kind of a thing. And so she's been taking all sorts of odd jobs, and she is recently fired. So she goes to pick up this job. She's pretty sure it's a scam, but she's going to try anyway. And while she's there, the Demon King swoops in and saves her and protects her. And so now he's made it his goal to continue to protect her because he is madly in love with his reincarnation. Honestly, from there, he basically moves in. He's starting to take care of her. It is top tier shenanigans. I laughed so much. Like, when it comes to this series, I am very excited that it's going to be short and succinct, because I think if it went on too long, it would get boring. But where it's only going to be 3 volumes, we're going to keep it nice and tight. I think it's going to be fantastic. Very much looking forward to volume 2, which I think either just came out or is coming out soon. So I'm trying to be very strict with my money right now. So I might not get it for a minute, but I'm very excited. I might actually wait till the 3rd volume's out, buy them both at the same time so I can read and go from there. That, or I'll just read it at the bookstore and purchase it later, kind of a thing. But either way, I would highly recommend the series. I think it's a great time. The next volume we're going to talk about here is volume 3 of With You, Our Love Will Make It Through. So at the end of volume 2, we have a jealousy trope kind of introduced. So we're introduced to Kisara, who is Tsunaga's childhood best friend. And she's a cat beast folk. And she doesn't make a great first impression, but by the end of this volume, I actually really adored her. I thought she was an adorable character. I think she did a lot to add to this story, actually. And I really feel like we're taking steps forward with the relationship between Mari and Tsunaga. That is progressing. And her human friend who had a crush on her, he's kind of backed down and backed off. And he is rooting for them, but he's like, if you ever mess up, I'm still going to swoop in, though. It's kind of where they're at with that after volume 2, which I really loved. And the way everything goes with Kisara, because Marty ends up coming to the Beastfolk land and to the Beastfolk area, that side of the wall, because yes, there's a wall dividing the types of people. And with what's experienced in this volume between the two of them, Marty and Kisara, they bond and form a really beautiful female friendship, formed by jealousy necessarily. That's how they're initially introduced, but the jealousy dissipates so fast that it works out really, really well for me. I continue to love and adore this series. If you're not familiar with what the series is about, obviously we're following Mari and Tsunaga, who go to school together. Tsunaga is the first Beastfolk to start attending public high school, and they end up sitting next to each other. He has never really been interested in any Beastfolk in his town, but he's very popular, very cute. Everybody likes him. And he finally feels a connection with Marty. And that's because Marty is his mate. And he is different from Beastfolk as his mother is human, which we meet in Hannah and the Beastman, which is the prequel series to this one. And I really love and adore this series a whole lot. Say what you will about it, but I think the actual relationship between the two of them is really sweet and genuine. And I really like that, yes, they're progressing in their physical relationship, just as high schoolers probably would, with an extra element to that, but I still think it's really well done. I continue to highly recommend the series. It's going to be, I believe, 10-ish volumes long, 10 or 11, somewhere in that realm, so it's not going to be too terribly long. But I do like the way the story is building currently. I'm really excited to see how this continues, because Tsunaga wants nothing more than to be a doctor to protect the Beastfolk. And Marty's just like, I really like him. I want to support him in his dream. And it's adorable. I love it. And yes, really, really highly recommend the series. The next one I have here is Sacrificial Princess and the King of Beasts Heir, which is White Rabbit and the Prince of Beasts Volume 2. Now, I really actually like how the story is developing here. We learn more about our heir here, the White Rabbit. He very much was part of the rebellion against royalty for a very long time, and now he's kind of off wandering on his own with a human apprentice. And basically this series is dealing with the fallout of the political decisions made in the first series. And we're seeing it through the eyes of Prince Richard is his name, and he's adorable, and I actually really like how he's developing as a character as well. He's starting to have his eyes really opened to the world, the state of things in his own country, because before this, he was living in the castle. He had no idea what was going on outside the castle walls, but to gain his beast familiar, essentially, he needed to go and experience the world so that he had a better grasp of what to expect. There's a lot of really fun things. Richard makes a sweet little friend in here, and I'm really excited to see them again. I'm really trying to not spoil too much here because, you know, technically this would be volume 17 in a series. But I really enjoy their story. It's beautiful and adorable, and I just love it so much. And we get a cameo appearance from one of my favorite couples from the first series, as they're like touring around as diplomats in the kingdom now because they're married, and it's everything I wanted and more, and I'm so happy. And yes, so everything about this volume made my heart so incredibly happy. I'm tearing up thinking about it. That's how happy I am about this particular series. So yes, I do believe this series is worth a pickup. It's only going to be 5 volumes. So again, we're just going on a little adventure with Richard to kind of see what the kingdom looks like after the events of the first series. So I highly recommend it. I would definitely check it out. And if you haven't read my favorite series of all time, Sacrificial Princess and the King of Beasts, I highly recommend that you do. The next manga I'm going to speak about is a final volume in a series, and that is The Dangerous Convenience Store. This is a boys' love story between a college-age man and a Yakuza member, essentially. This is their romance. It is messy. This ending is everything I've wanted. We've experienced a time skip. So our younger, Yui Jun, that's his name, the younger of the two has entered the workforce. He's been in another relationship for quite some time, but he is still hung up on Gunwoo. And Gunwoo never gave up on Yui Jun, and he had to disappear to kind of get his life in order. So the time skip happens after Gunwoo comes back to Yui Jun, and says, hey, I'm still madly in love with you. I'm sorry. I basically left you on red, but that's not essentially what happened. I'm sorry that I left. I had to get some things in order. They're all in order now. I want to be with you. And Yuijun is like, I'm in a relationship. I'm sorry. And so this volume deals with the wrapping up of things. And I really like how this one ended. It ended on a really sweet and lovely note. And it made my heart so happy. This is a very steamy series. It does come sealed. And I would definitely recommend checking out the series if you haven't, if you can handle a spicy BL. And I really liked the way their relationship developed. It ended up in a dynamic that wasn't healthy in the beginning, but it does evolve, it grows, they spend time apart. Yuijun at least has another relationship after that, to see if he can move on from Gunwoo, and he can't. And it's amazing. I really love the series. I think it's great. And it's one that's definitely going to be staying on my shelves. So, and then the last one we're going to talk about here in the manga portion of the video is 27 volumes long, so I'm not going to hold them all up, but this is Fullmetal Alchemist. I really loved my reread of this series. In rereading the series, it has confirmed itself as my favorite shonen of all time. Now, I only consider something an all-time favorite once it is complete. And so this is like my second favorite series of all time. First one being Sacrificial Princess and the King of Beasts. There are some things that mean a little more to me. They're a little deeper in Sacrificial Princess and the King of Beasts than Fullmetal. But Fullmetal owns a piece of my heart and my soul. Alphonse in particular definitely does. I understand that not everybody's gonna love this series. It's a very politically heavy shonen fantasy action series, but in it we're following the Elric brothers, Edward and Alphonse. They commit the ultimate taboo within the alchemy world in trying to bring their mother back from the dead. They did this as children, where all they wanted was to see their mother smile again. The punishment for this was Alphonse, the younger of the two, lost his entire body, where Edward lost an arm and a leg. And within the series, they are on a journey to get Alphonse's body back and for Edward to get his limbs back. Through that, they end up embroiled in a huge political, military, conspiracy, essentially, where other beings called homunculi are controlling the world from the underground and have infiltrated the military. And the leader of the military and the leader of the country is one of the homunculi. So it's a very interesting political and fast-paced series. Though this is heavy and deals with a lot of heavy topics, it is also lighthearted enough that you don't get too bogged down by it, because Himaru Arakawa, the mangaka, has a way of lightening the mood at the right moment that really works well. They also have a way that I noticed upon reread that I didn't notice as much before, of the power of using the turn of a page in a manga. Because you'll be reading something, it's on just the normal manga paper, and then you'll turn, it's a black background, and it's a very impactful panel, just a single panel, telling you something very impactful, either from a flashback or of what's going on in the moment. And the use of the turn of the page gives you a different visual impact than I experience in a lot of manga, because I don't think a lot of series have that mastered quite so much, or there was something great about the publication run. I don't know, but I think it was so well done and so impactful. I actually tried to rewatch Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood after finishing my reread, because I'm like, I just need to spend a little more time with these characters. I'm not ready to say goodbye. And it was so jarring how fast big things are revealed to you in Brotherhood that I didn't put together the first time I watched through it, because I hadn't read it at the time. So that was a very different experience for me. And either way, I highly recommend Fullmetal Alchemist as a series. I think it's a great series in anyone's collection. I would definitely go in with your mind open and knowing that it's going to have heavy moments, and it's not going to be your standard action shonen. There's a lot more heart to it. There's a lot more going on with it. And if you go in with the wrong expectations, I could see someone not liking it. So I just want to preemptively tell you, yes, this is my favorite shonen of all time, but this is not going to be a Naruto, a One Piece, a Dragon Ball even. Like, it's not going to be that kind of an action shonen. It's going to be different. So please keep that in mind as you enter Fullmetal. It is my favorite, but I want to give other people an opportunity to experience it on their own and in their own time. So with that said, that is the end of the manga portion of this video. So let's go ahead and dive into the books. If you were only here for the manga, thanks so much for stopping by, and I appreciate you. I hope you'll stick around for the books because I read a lot of amazing ones. So let's go ahead and start talking about them. So the first one we're going to talk about here is Archangel's Consort. In this one, we're continuing to follow Elena and Raphael. I believe the next book in the series, we're going to shift to a different character. In this one, we're dealing with the fallout of the second book, and we are meeting new characters that are going to be important for this series moving forward. I'm being kind of vague about this one in particular because, one, it's the third book in a series, but also because there's a whole video dedicated to me talking about this one. I've been doing a read-along with my friend Steph over at Novelty Corner. There's a handful of us that are doing this together. And so this one has a way of breaking up the tension of the story with the sexual relationship between Raphael and Elena, which works but doesn't at the same time. It felt like it was getting tired by the third book. So I'm very excited to move on to a different character and a different couple for a bit. And I think that's going to work in this book's favor. But yes, I have a whole video dedicated to talking about this. So I will leave that linked. I think it's going to be in this corner for you. And from there, we will move on to the next book. So the next one we have here is a Libra FM arc that I had, and that is When Love Returns by Liz Isaacson. This is not the only Liz Isaacson that I've read this month, but this is one that just came up in my list of things to talk about first. This novel deals a lot with grief and loss and moving forward, even though it's essentially a second chance romance. So we have Edith. She had a fiance, and he ended up with a terminal diagnosis and ended up passing away. She's been kind of stuck, not moving forward with life, stuck in her cycle of grief, not sure if she could let anybody in. And then all of a sudden, Finn, her childhood love, comes home from the military service, and they run into each other his first day home. He, of course, is still in love with her. And when he went off to war, he wanted to let her fly free. He didn't want her to feel tied down, all that kind of stuff, because she wasn't ready to settle. She wanted to, but he also doesn't want to run his family's ranch. He doesn't want to just do what his dad did, doesn't want to just take over for his dad. He wants his own thing. He wants to prove himself. And so now that he's home from military service, he's kind of lost, doesn't know what to do. Early in this novel, there's a flood, and they all have to help repair each other's ranches. He spends a lot of time at hers. They start to grow closer, all that kind of stuff. I really liked how this book dealt with the grief because it was real, it was raw, but it was done in a way that felt realistic, where when confronted truly with the idea of inviting someone else into your life after you thought that person would be someone else, didn't necessarily go how any of the characters thought it would. And so I thought it was very well done for that. I really appreciated it, and I thought it was a very genuine reaction, and I think it was absolutely fantastic. I would recommend. The next one here was probably my favorite read of the entire month outside of my reread of Fullmetal Alchemist, and that is I Married Kayog by Regine Abel. This is the 14th, I believe, book in the Prime Mating Agency series. As y'all know, this is a series I love and adore, and I talk about all the time on my channel. So we finally got the backstory of Kayog, our matchmaker of all of our couples up to this point. I honestly never thought I would get this book. Like, I did not know Regine was writing it. Like, I am floored. I am so happy that she gave us this book. This book owns a huge part of me. So we meet Kayog and Linsea, his current timeline wife, when they're in college. He is the frontman of a rock band, even though he has a problem where his shields for the Tamaran people who are telepaths and empaths, his shield's never formed, essentially. And so he gets overstimulated really easy. If it's positive emotions, it's easier for him to deal with. But as soon as the negativity comes in, he has really negative reactions to that. They see each other in a classroom first. And he's like, oh my gosh, this is her. Her song sings to me, because he can hear people's soul songs is what he calls them. It's beautiful. I really love it. Linsea's friend group is fantastic, by the way. But she shows up at the concert, and he's written her a freaking song. He calls it My Dove, because he's very colorful, where she is very like white with some black spots across her chest. And literally he wrote a song for her, and it's beautiful, and I love it, because it basically says, you're amazing, you're gorgeous, I love you, but run away because I'm crazy, because that's how he feels, because he hasn't been able to find a cure for what's going on with him. So he lives in a neurodivergent life. One of the quotes here that stood out to me after he tells her what's going on with him, she says, I will razz the world and any other to the ground before I let anyone take you from me. I refuse to let you continue to live at the edge of life because something that could possibly be cured. Like, I love it so much. And as their relationship develops and they do become romantic together, like, it's sweet, it's adorable, slightly awkward, because he doesn't know how much he can handle, so he's kind of stilted, but it's just beautiful. He has 3 master's degrees. He's wickedly smart, and he's trying to figure out what to do with his life. And that's how the Prime Mating Agency comes about, because he's done all of his research in protecting primitive species and things like that. So this is kind of his backdoor way of being an ambassador. There comes a point where they have to confront what's going on with him, and the way she fiercely protects him, the way that she finds a cure for him, the way that she gives him what he needs. He has this moment where he wakes up after all of this medical stuff that's been going on, and it's quiet for the first time in his head. And that moment lives rent free in my head. And I love it with my whole entire heart and soul. This book is amazing. I don't really want to say too much more. And it's absolutely perfect. The way things loop around at the end. Well, I should caveat, there is a trigger warning here you should definitely be aware of. And that is a death of an infant after being alive for about 2 days. The way that is all played out and the way it's written is all done with care and love, and from a point of a place where you could get behind what the author is trying to do with this moment. And the way that all plays out and loops around is really beautiful, and I really loved it. All right, let's move on to the next one before I keep crying at you. The next one we have here is Sixth Street Love Affair. This is another Liz Isaacson book. So this is either book 5 or book 6, I forget, in one of her series. I will put the series name here. My brain is not remembering it at the moment. But essentially, we're following Garth and Juliet. Juliet escaped a very toxic marriage and relationship and fled, changed everything about her life, and has basically been in hiding because her ex had basically threatened, if you leave me, I'll kill you, kind of a thing. And so she's very much been hiding in the dark for a long time. Garth, however, loves her deeply, doesn't know that she's connected to someone he knows because he knew her ex. He never liked him, and they weren't super close or anything, and he had no idea who Juliet was because Garth, the ex, kept her basically hidden, and no one knew. And she's since changed her hair color, things like that. So she doesn't want anyone letting him know where she is, and she doesn't want to get closer to Garth because she finds out she recognizes that Garth knew him. And Garth lost his wife because he was previously married. They were married for a while and she died. The only one who had truly caught his attention since then is Juliet. He doesn't know the connection to the past, but their chemistry is off the chart, and Garth doesn't understand what's going on. But the way that all plays out, the way they finally talk through it, is great. He wants to protect her, and the ex's name is Brad. When he finally does show up, Garth is there. He is able to protect her, and it's wonderful. And I really liked how this one played out. I gave it a solid 4 stars. I guess I didn't give you the star ratings on my other. Archangel's Consort was 4. Hopefully I put them underneath the books. Okay, so let's move on to the next one, which is Shadow's Heart, which is book 19 in the Immortals After Dark series. So we're finally getting Cosmina's books. Cosmina is a Dacian vampire that we've been hearing about for quite a while. And now we're finally getting her story, and her fated mate happens to be a sorcerer who was a deadbeat, was caught by her brother and turned in, essentially. They end up in the same prison because they think, because she ends up contracting a vampire sickness. It's one of those things where Lothair of old wants to expose Cosmina to the world a little bit more, so he sends her on a journey, and that's how she ends up sick and in the same prison as Silt, and they go off to try to escape the prison. And he's like, I feel lucid, I don't want to lose her, she's gonna hurt herself. And it's one of those things where they connect and bond throughout their journey. This is pretty straightforward for an Immortals After Dark book. Again, because it's book 19, I don't feel like I can share too much of what's going on. There are some really great nods to many people throughout the series in this one. And I'm very excited for the upcoming books. We get some big hints about a book coming up and some movement in that realm. And I'm very, very excited about that. So I do like the talks of addiction and the way that all of that works out and plays out, and how trust goes both ways in those situations. And it's just done really well. Solid 4 stars. Not a new favorite in the Immortals After Dark series by any means, but I thought it was a really solid addition, and I would recommend checking it out if you love the Immortals After Dark series. The next one we have here is a DNF, and that's going to be Thaumaturge by Terry Mancour. I've talked about this series pretty actively on this channel over the years, and I have learned that Terry's writing style is just not for me anymore. This is very much a telling, not showing kind of writing style. And after reading something like He Who Fights with Monsters, where it's very much showing, not telling you what's going on, I've learned that I very much prefer that style of writing. So this book isn't necessarily bad, and the installment in the series isn't necessarily bad. But it's one of those things where I have just learned that it is no longer for me, so I will not be continuing on in the series. So no offense to Terry, no offense to fans of the series. I have just learned that the writing style doesn't work for me. And that's okay, because every reader is different. It's a great indie fantasy series, so if you're looking for one, I highly recommend checking it out. Just remember, Minolin's a little rough in the beginning, but by the time you're a couple books in, Minolin's a very different person, and I think you can really enjoy what he's doing. He's very devoted to his wife, Alia, I would say after the second book, he's very devoted to her. But yeah, anyways, it's very interesting. I was very intrigued for a long time with the series, obviously, if I got 11 books in. But yeah, just not for me overall. So with that said, we're going to move on from that series, and let's move on to the next review. So the next one I have here is The Day of the Duchess by Sarah McLean. This one, again, has some trigger warnings with, the birth of children and things. So just be aware of that. Malcolm and Sarah marry very, very young after some mistakes were made that makes trusting each other very, very hard. It's been some years. She comes back and basically shows up in Parliament where he works and says, hey, give me a divorce. And he's like, wait, you're back? What? Divorce? Because she basically, after everything happens with the baby, she just ups and leaves, hoping he'll move on, marry someone else, blah, 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 because she's told she can't have children after the things that happened with the previous baby. And so she goes to start a new life, and he basically says, once she comes back, I'll grant you your divorce, but you have to help me pick my new wife. And so he basically has her go out to their country estate, shenanigans ensue, and this one is really well done. All the reveals about the past and how they got to the situation that they were in made complete sense to me. It's really gut-wrenching when you get down to it, because if someone hadn't inserted themselves in the middle, they could have easily talked it out and ended up working it out and staying together. Because there was a lot of hurt initially, because he was ready to propose to her, and something happened where he felt like he had to marry her instead of wanting to marry her. I'm not going to go into the specifics of that because it does in the book. And it's one of those things where they hurt each other early in their marriage, but he was ready to move forward and start over and stuff. But things were said that muddied the waters from someone else. And once they finally were able to talk all of that out, they were able to come back to each other, and it was really a beautiful thing. The resolution worked really well. I cried. I loved it. I would highly recommend checking out the series as a whole. I've read the other 2 books in this series, and I gave this one a solid 5. I don't think it's quite a 6. It's one that I'll enjoy, and it's a historical romance that I will definitely recommend often, but it is not one that necessarily will... it doesn't stand up there with my other favorite books, if that makes sense. The next one I have here is another DNF, and that was Dust Storm by Maggie Gates. And I'm really sad I didn't like it. So I DNF'd this one at about 20%. So essentially what happens is I could not get behind our heroine, Cassandra, at all. This is a romance where the dad is a single parent, and the way she so vehemently wants nothing to do with children, including his at points, meant there was no way that I was going to be able to get behind her as his partner. I just couldn't. Like, it's okay for 2 people to be different in a relationship, but when he already has children and you know you're against children, like, you're going to compromise who you are to be with that person. And you'd already been compromising yourself in your previous relationship, which she's currently engaged to another man. And I have a feeling it was going to end up in cheating territory before she broke it off. And I don't care if he was already cheating on her, which I'm pretty sure he was. That doesn't matter. Like, have a conversation, end the relationship before you're sleeping with other people. Like, I will always feel that way about cheating stuff. So I could tell it was going down that lane, which is really sad because the hero I quite liked for the most part. And so I just wasn't able to get behind it. So that one was a DNF at 20% for me. Alrighty. The next one we're going to talk about, it's been a lot of digital reading this month, as you can tell, and that is The Ether Witch. This was volume 2 in The Ether Witch. This is the 3rd. So there's the House Witch series. There's a novel connecting it to the later series. Then we have the Burning Witch trilogy, which follows Cat. And then we have the Ether Witch trilogy following Tamlin, the twin of Cat. Children of Finley Ash Owen from the House Witch. And so because we're so deep in this lore, there's only so much I can tell you. So we're still following Tamlin and Eli and Luca as they're trouncing through, trying to make sure that Eli stays politically from the reveals. We find out a major thing in the early part of this book that would spoil the end of book 1, so I won't say what that is, but we're dealing with the fallout and ramifications of those reveals, and it's so good. I really enjoy these. I enjoy them on audio in particular, and yes, I can understand how cozy fantasy is not for everybody, but this is a cozy fantasy series that's really working for me. It's written by Delimach, I believe is how you'd say it, but it's a Canadian author. And I really enjoy it. I think it's a great time, and I would recommend checking it out if you haven't. Okay, the last one we have to talk about is By the Horns by Ruby Dixon. So in this one, we are still following Gwenna, which is like the maid of the heroine in the first book. And then a minotaur named Raptor. And basically, after the end of the first series, we found out that there's been a lot of theft within the guild. And so he's been demoted to try to help find it. And so he ends up having to form a team and stuff. And he ends up on the same team as Gwenna and one of the other teammates from the original Full Moon Rising. I really like how this played out. I really don't want to say too much because it'll end up spoiling a lot of what's going on in the first book. But Gwenna has a special power. They consider her a mancer. I won't say what kind of mancer because that is a decent reveal that I kind of saw coming. But I ended up really enjoying this. Ruby Dixon really doesn't do wrong by me. Every Ruby Dixon I've picked up, I've really enjoyed for the most part. I don't think I've given anything less than a 3. This would be a solid like 4, 4.5 for me. I didn't love it quite as much as the first one, but I really did enjoy it. In this physical copy, like, look at them. They're adorable. I really like them. I forget what, yeah, the front is just the same. But yeah, I really enjoy the series as a whole. It's very shiny, so I'm trying to not blind you with it. But I'm really enjoying this. I hope we get more in the series, as I will take as many as Ruby wants to give me. I mean, I'm very invested in her other stuff, so clearly I'm a Ruby fan. And if you are, and yes, it does get smutty, and yes, he has a knot. That's all I'm going to say. So with that said, that is everything that I read in the month of November. Thank you so much for checking out this video. If you're here just because you love me, leave me, what kind of emoji should we do? Let's do the skull emoji for By the Horns, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.